Professor K here, and today we're going to talk about how to translate your wireframe into more of a design, something that has a look and feel to it, instead of just content and priority. And the first step in that is deciding on a visual theme. I like to do this using a style board. So today we're going to go through a quick tutorial of how to put together a style board in Adobe XD and some of the questions that you might want to think of as you're creating this style board in Adobe XD. So just as a reminder, we started out with this recipe for disaster, right? This is my content. And part of how I want this content to read is I want it to be kind of sassy, right? Like recipe for disaster. I want it to have a little bit of bite to it. So I have that in mind. I also have my wireframes from Adobe XD in mind. You'll remember that we have everything from small up to desktop in here. And some of the things I'm going to look up here include different images, different comic book style illustrations, and then different fonts. So I've decided ahead of this video that I want like a comic book style. I want something that has some pop to it. That's the look and feel I'm going for. So all I'm going to do is just copy some of these images that I'm really liking in my Google search and just paste them right into my wireframe. This one file, this one XD file, is going to go all the way from wireframes to mockups. You'll see how that evolves in just a moment. But for now, I'm just going to focus on just some of these ideas that jump out at me, stuff I really like. And I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm not going to be too picky about it. I'm just going to kind of see what I go for here. I like this one. And as I'm grabbing images and kind of building up my style board here, a trend I'm noticing is I really like this dot pattern effect. I really like this like comic booky style typography and lines, and I'm really drawn to like warm colors. So these are some things that as I finish out my style board, I can continue thinking about. I'm going to work on this more later, but for now, I want to show you a little bit about how I'm going to choose fonts in here. The first thing I'm going to do is go to google.com/fonts. Now, there are a number of different services that you can use to pick out typefaces for this project, but I would recommend going with Google Fonts just because, for one thing, font foundries sometimes change their mind with Adobe fonts. I've had that happen a couple times. So you'll have a project out there and then they'll suddenly decide, I don't want to host my fonts on Adobe Typekit anymore. So I'm going to walk that back. Then you lose your font choice and you have to like redesign your stuff around a new typeface. That's no good. However, Google Fonts almost never changes. You can be pretty sure that Google Fonts, whatever fonts you see up here, are going to be there for you pretty much as long as Google Fonts is still available. And one thing I really like about Google Fonts is that you can sort by category. So with a comic book style font, I know I want a display typeface. And I'm just going to scroll through here and see what I can find. See if there's anything that really stands out to me as being comic booky. This one's not bad. This one's pretty close. I'm going to open it in a new tab, but it's like not quite right. You know, it's like missing that slant. It's got like the good chunky feel. It's square and it's got some like personality like in the A, but it's not quite. Aha, check this out. Bangers. This is a good typeface for this. This is almost exactly what I'm looking for. I love this. This is almost perfect. I'm going to scroll a little bit more just to see if there's anything that fits better, but my gut instinct says that's going to be my typeface. So I'm looking, I'm not seeing anything that really stands out as being better than what I just found. New Wave is pretty nice too, but it has more of a handwritten feel. It's a little more indie feeling, and I want something that's really like classic comic book style. So Luckiest Guy, I'm just going to close out of that. I don't want that anymore. Between Carter 1 and Bangers, Bangers definitely wins. So I'm just going to increase this typeface size so I can see it a little bit better. And then take a screenshot by doing Shift, Command, and 4. That will bring up this little sort of crosshairs on your Mac. And then just click and drag to take a screenshot. And I really like this because what you can do is in Adobe XD, just have a note of what that typeface you really liked was. So if you're deciding between a couple, if you don't have that like moment of, yup, that's definitely the typeface I want, you can just put it in here and have a couple next to each other to compare. All right, so now that I have a display typeface picked out, I want to think about my secondary typeface. What am I going to use for my body copy? This typeface Bangers is going to be great for headlines and subheadings, but I still need something that's really nice and readable for things like my directions. So let's take a look at this page. One thing I really like about Google Fonts is that it has this popular pairings section. And you can notice that there are a couple of different pairings. Open Sans was the default one. There's also Roboto and Montserrat. And then there's two down here that are like display typefaces paired together. Pacifico, this is like too much personality at once. I don't really like this. And then I would say the same here with like Playfair, Display, and Bangers. These are just like in totally opposite directions. I don't care if it's popular, this doesn't look good. So let's head back up to these first three. The commonality between them is they're all using sans serif typefaces. And now I want to take a closer look and examine which one goes the best with Bangers. So Montserrat, I'm going to rule out because the width, the character width of this typeface is like really wide. It feels really extended in comparison with Bangers. So it's feeling very funky. Whereas Open Sans and Roboto feel a little bit more natural. Open Sans is a little bit rounder. I'm noticing that there's some roundness in the P characters. Overall, it's just like very round, whereas Roboto is a little bit squarer. I'm noticing the character width is a little bit smaller too. Overall, I think Roboto goes best with this. This is the one that's, as I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, this is where it's at. So I'm going to take a screenshot, again, Shift-Command-4 with that. And I'm just going to remember that I want to pair Roboto with this by dragging this right into Adobe XD. Perfect. And you can see here, I've got kind of a good start at a style board. And you can stop really at any point with style boards as soon as you get the general gut feeling that you want in your mock-up set here. So if I knew what my color scheme was, if I knew what kinds of textures and patterns I want to integrate in my font pairings, I'd probably stop about here. I feel like I have a good sense of what I want to do now, and I'm probably ready to move on to mockups. But you can work on style boards as long as you need to get that overall look and feel going before you work on the actual mockups where you're getting into that like pixel perfect detail. So that's Adobe XD and creating style boards inside an XD file. Next, we're going to take a look at how to go through and create a mockup from this. So with that, I'll see you in just a moment.